Hello and welcome to another episode of the Unstuck Club that we literally get excited to record. It is like this, it's standard in the diary. Nothing gets in the way of it. Maybe we change a day or two or push it out because we're true to ourselves and sometimes we're shifting it out a bit. But here we are. Hi, Da.
Hi, Joe. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good in an odd kind of way.
Really odd. Oh, my word. What is going on?
No, I actually did a quick video today because I put my breakfast in the microwave for 10 minutes instead of 1 minute. And you kind of wait for the ping in the background.
Yeah.
And then, if you put it in for 1 minute and then it pings and you leave it for 5 minutes, it's fine. But when you put it in, it bubbles all over the place. And I actually just did a video saying if anyone gives the impression that all their ducks are in a row, like I do not believe that anyone's ducks are in a row at the moment.
It feels like, it feels like the ducks are on LSD, to be honest. Because, I have done things over the last week. I've cocked up things that I never get wrong. I've got times wrong. I've written times wrong. I read a message twice and completely missed the time of the appointment. I saw so the message actually read 10 on Wednesday and 9 on Friday. All I saw was 10 on Wednesday and Friday. And I looked at this message twice.
Yes.
And then my trainer messaged me on Friday morning, like, is there something wrong? You're not here. And I was like, no, but it's 10. No. And I go back to her message. And all of a sudden, for the first time, I see the 9 a.m. And it's what it feels like for me, because the other thing that's been happening, Joe, and I know you've had a similar experience, is like we're putting stuff out there, we're advertising, we're arranging things, organizing things, and it feels like it just goes into this void and disappears. There's no response, there's not a like. It's like, is this the algorithm who's just, sucking my content up and making it disappear? What it feels like for me, that they have that saying, so it's no longer that, but it's not quite this. We're sort of in the middle, I suppose, in the gloop. So the caterpillar has gone into the cocoon and is now in this, because that's what happens. The caterpillar like completely disintegrates and things have to sort themselves out and then becomes the butterfly. Kind of feels like we're in the gloop at the moment, where we don't know what's up, what's down. You get excited about something, it comes to nothing. You're seeing all these posts about, do this, intend that, visualize this, and we do all that. The only thing that has changed for me, and I don't know if it's the same for you, is I just feel a lot calmer. I'm not stressed. Somehow there is a deep knowing that this is a massive shift that is going on energetically. And I'm going to talk energy because the reality is we are all energy. There is a vibration. We resonate with other frequencies and other energies. And I think there is a massive energetic shift going on. And if we stay stuck in trying to hold on to what was, it is really going to be a struggle for us. I'd be interested to know your take on that.
It's interesting because when you were talking about the caterpillar to the butterfly, actually in that gloop, like that chrysalis stage, there's absolute calm in there, right? That there's absolute calm and there's absolute surrender. And as you said it, I was like, okay, that's not what we're getting right. Because because there is, I can't say that there's absolute calm. Um, it's interesting because I do agree with you that I am a firm believer that life does work out as it should, and that there's this constant navigating, and every choice can turn things around in a moment. And also talking about energetically, like life can turn on a dime, so I believe all of that. I really do. But I find myself, now that you and I are talking about it, I find myself consistently thinking about it, consistently, all the
Okay.
time, right?
Okay.
And that consistently thinking about it, um, it isn't generating. It can't be generating calm. It can't be generating surrender, because surrender is your ability to say, this is what I have done. This is what I've created. This is what I've put into place, right?
Okay.
And I surrender this into the world. I surrender it into the world. And what is the next thing that I can do that is actually detached from that? Because if it's not detached from that, we're tampering energetically with it the whole time. And I just put out my mid-year numerology, and it's exactly what you're talking about. The people who have booked no, not the people who've booked, that's not the right statement, I'm getting to that. The people who I've created it for, because I do my numerology in an interesting, well, I do all my stuff in an interesting way. You've had the opportunity to feel this. I create content, and then I share it with people who I love and respect, and we're in it together. And then your feedback of, Joe, that question doesn't make sense, or did you pick up that spelling error, like all of that kind of stuff. That's our give and take. So those people who I did the numerology for, they were like, this is an absolutely amazing reading. It's so helpful, so on point, such a good time to do it. And then I put out the newsletter, put it out into social, and I haven't had bookings. So we said in Unstuck Club we were really going to be transparent and vulnerable. And this is the transparency and the vulnerability. I haven't had. And then the meddling starts. The meddling of, did I do the post right? Was the coloring of it wrong? Was it too wordy? How else do I say it? When am I going to do? I never left it in the chrysalis. I never left it for a moment.
So you didn't detach from it. We don't.
No.
We put it out there with an expectation because we know it's so amazing that everyone should be doing it.
Of course.
So how do you detach then?
What move on to the next thing. Genuinely move on to the next thing. So the numerology is out there. What is the next thing for me to do? I'm sitting with the remainder of my next book to write. You and I have spoken about different messaging that I don't share enough. People find, people, when they're in my presence, they find me fascinating. And then I don't put it out. All these different creative things. But we don't actually leave it alone, and we don't give it enough time. And I think this is so important for frequency. Now that we're talking about frequency, is that time is such a human illusion. It absolutely is. And we want things to happen in our time frame, because there is a panic or an inability to surrender once again and believe that things will happen and fall into place in perfect timing. It's not our timing. And that's where we mess up so much of it. And we're talking about being stuck. The universe is like, you're not stuck at all. You're just impatient.
Okay, so I get that, but I'm sitting here, and anyone who's listening to this who is self-employed and doesn't get a salary at the end of every month, it's that, yes, I mean, I agree with you, time. I think it's because why we, like John died 5 years ago, and I'm like, oh, how did it get to be 5 years? Because, and I thought, well, that's human, that's Chronos time. It's not Kairos time. But, we're less than 10 days away from the month end. I need money to meet my debit orders. So I'm trusting, I know with my grief work and wanting to work with corporates, it is a process that is happening. I have to feel confident with it. I have to feel that it really is authentically me when I show up at their door. It doesn't change the fact that on the 1st of July, I need to have money in my bank accounts. And possibly that's why we hold on, why we can't just go, okay, I'm going to let this go. It is really, we really are at that catch-22 of, I have an amazing product or a service or whatever it is. I know it will come, but the universe's timing and my timing and the very real pressures that I'm under, I think make it a challenge to just surrender and let go and trust. I think that is part of the struggle that we're in, is this enormous financial pressure. And I also do think that we are being challenged to look at our lives and go, what is really important for you in the everyday? I saw an interesting discussion yesterday on Facebook. There was some article that was posted about what it costs the average family to live every month. And it was clearly like middle to high end. And this one guy said, oh, well, I can't live on less than 100,000 Rand a month. We have 2 cars and our kids are in private schools and this, that, and the other. And the backlash he got was like, well, you are, the privileged few. If you choose that lifestyle, then yes, you have to generate that much money. But for many of us, and I see a lot of my friends going like, I just want to downsize. They're canceling subscriptions. They are downsizing their vehicles, or we'll manage with one vehicle. They're looking at, their children's education and what it costs. And I think we get stuck when we want to maintain that lifestyle, but we want our life to change. And the two are you can almost feel the dissonance between it. Like we are really, I think, Jo, we're in a really dissonant stage at the moment as all this kind of figures itself out. That's my feeling.
I want to kind of speak in defense of the universe. We do so much work on having faith and believing in the universe and trusting the process, right?
Mm.
Until it gets sticky. And when it gets to crunch time, either we mistrust ourselves, mistrust the universe, but immediately there's mistrust. We can't be in fear and faith at the same time.
No.
But we can't. So we're in faith up until a point. We're in faith up until the time when we should really be in faith. At that time when we should really have the capacity to hold on to and when I say faith, I have an anagram for, is it anagram? Is that the right word?
Yeah, I think
for faith, one of those, which is to continue to focus. Don't lose sight of, right? Continue to focus. And focus also means stay in the present moment. Continue to accept this. It is what it is in this very moment. It can change on a dime. More importantly, than that. It is what it is. Where to from here? What is the other thing that I can do? Not in resistance, right? Not in fear and not in resistance. And to make sure that your intention, why am I doing this? Like to get to a point, which is an interesting point for me, because I absolutely love what I do. There is nothing else for me to do. This is it, right? And then where I think we all get sticky in the process of faith is to trust, to really and truly trust.
Yeah.
And then to check in with, does this make me happy? Which is such an important question. There's some people who are holding on to things and then going, but I need it. I have to have it. It does make me, it's irrelevant whether it makes me happy or not. It is what it is kind of thing, which is, if I were a guide or an angel or a guardian angel and I were looking at me and everything that I do and how I love it, and then I've watched myself go, it's not working, so maybe I should change it. It's not working, so maybe I should give it up. I feel like I would just be heartbroken, absolutely heartbroken. And I would just want to say, just believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. And I think we believe in ourselves. And we only truly know that we do believe in ourselves when it does get sticky, and when we can anchor our worth in a way that we didn't even know we had the capacity to anchor our worth. But unfortunately, that's the very time that we start to question and that we lose faith. So if I'm going to take my imagination and to you, because that's how I see the universe, is so animated, I just feel like whether you believe in guides, angels, guardian angels, whether you are coming from a religious background, whatever it is, in whatever your belief is, however this energy works, because I really want to touch every single person when I say it, is just going, all you need to do now is remain calm and stick to what you believe in and hold on to your faith. But in the coaching that I have been doing for a long time now, a lot of my clients, and if you're listening and you are one of my clients and we have been in this process together, I am saying this with absolute love and empathy towards you. That's when that's when the sessions get cancelled. Joe, life's gotten stressful. I can't do sessions. I know I've said this before, is self-care is self-awareness. Continuous self-care is self-awareness. And that's what I think where so much of this is going wrong is, have you managed to hold on to your faith? And I know, because I have had people say to me, I held on to my faith with everything that I got and it never worked out. And it's that gap where you got to continue that holding on to that faith that people are dipping off.
I think, listen, I know that it is an inner thing, because you can say, oh, I have faith, I trust the process. But again, it goes back to, and it is one of the foundations of getting unstuck, is you have to feel it. It's no good just saying it. And I see this time and time again. I see these desperate pleas in the community groups, like, I've got no electricity, my baby's got no food, this, that, and the other. You go to their page and it is full of inspirational memes and, quotes from the Bible. And I'm not knocking it in any shape or form, but it's just words. If you don't have it in here. And I think the other thing, of course, is the society that we live in, which is, just really tends to pull you down. And you have to spend time with yourself. I think that's the other thing. And that is the danger when people cancel their Reiki session with me. Because life is too busy. So they don't give themselves an hour or the half an hour distance session where we can bring the body back to some semblance of balance. And yes, they'll feel great for a day or two, but if you hurtle back into your life,
Yeah.
that is not it. You don't sustain the changes that you're so desperate to make. So I think all of this Gloop is pushing us to like show up authentically. Like, what do you really want? Having to make some hard decisions. And I'm not saying that any of this is easy. Make hard decisions and then start to take the baby steps to the changes that you want. So there is a big disconnect at the moment between the faith and actually feeling it and trusting that it's there. And I think that's where a lot of people are getting stuck. And the other thing that I see is I'm part of a group. We're doing I think it's a 27-day process. And it's amazing when you join something like that and you suddenly start and the facilitator says, we just need 10 or 15 minutes a day. You get an email every day. And there's a lot of questions there that are pushing a lot of buttons. And what is coming up is a lot of shame and guilt and regret. And a lot of this goes back to childhood. So you're going to throw that into the mix as well. The beliefs that you've grown up with, I'm not good enough, I don't have value, I'm a waste of space. This is the thing that children have been told. You're stupid, you're useless. We take all that on. So that also adds its little 2 cents worth to us trying to get to these spaces that we know we should be in, that we're worth being in, that we all have something to bring to the world. None of us are here by accident. Anyone who's listening to us now who is feeling like they are worthless and useless, you did not come here now by accident. You have something of value. And that's the other thing. It's one of my big bugbears is, come to us and discover your soul purpose. Like it's this mighty thing that you're going to go out like Superman and save the world. Your life purpose could just be to put a smile on the person of everyone that you interact with and make them feel a little bit lighter.
No, for sure.
Could be to be the best mother ever to the little souls that you're responsible for. It doesn't have to be this earth-shattering thing that you now have to give up everything and go and, live on a mountain and meditate.
Completely. And we've confused purpose with purposeful. Because every moment of our day, there is whatever you're doing in some different kind of way, you're being purposeful. I sat the other day and I thought about a client that I haven't seen in ages, and I messaged her and I was like, I haven't seen you in ages. I just want to check in. Let's have a catch-up call. And it's later on today. And she messaged me yesterday. It was so interesting. And she said to me, I just want to check that you just want a call. Is it paid? Must I pay you? And I said, no, it was so interesting. You were on my mind, and I just genuinely want to just check in. And she responded, and she was like, she kind of said, who does that?
Yeah.
That's kind of where she went. She was like, who does that? And my response to her, which is why I love how I function, and that's why we wanted to do Unstuck Club, is because we wanted to share with people how we live our lives. That makes me feel so purposeful. It really and truly does. If someone pops into my mind, I will message them. And I have people who I've messaged and they've never ever messaged me back, and it's absolutely, absolutely fine. But that's the big difference between purpose that we're all searching for. People spend so much time searching for purpose instead of, like you said, a busy mom who manages to cook the meal, or a busy mom who doesn't manage to cook the meal and has to dash past the fast food place and give their kids something that's fast food. And, it's like, just be kinder to yourself in this whole process. Be more present, be kinder to yourself. Nobody else's formula works, like only your formula works. And the one thing, Di, you and I are not saying to anyone we have any solutions, because we are also sitting with ourselves going, what's going on? Like, I had a friend of mine the other day, and because I have a beautiful, light-hearted relationship with the universe. You know that I do. So I call her Madam Universe at times when I have no clue what's going on. So all my friends and everyone knows that I refer to this beautiful, divine, all that is energy. That is this, all that is energy. Made no sense, but I don't know how to describe it. I call her Madam Universe sometimes. And this friend of mine sent a message, and he was like, does Madam Universe maybe need a drink? Because in his own world, there's also just chaos. Like, so many people get hold of me. I wish I could tell you how many people get hold of me. They're like, Joe, what's happening in the numerology? What's happening in the stars? What's happening in the universe? There's like this desperate kind of what's happening, like what's going on. And you and I are also 100% trying to figure out what's going on.
No, we definitely aren't one of those gurus who seems to have it all figured out and, have 9-figure gazillion dollar incomes and, a very wealthy lifestyle. Definitely not. I really do feel that it's actually a beautiful journey. I was journaling the other night and looking particularly around the last 5 years and all the money stuff that for me has happened. And I'm like, do you know what, God? I wouldn't have it any other way, because I wouldn't have the depth of learning that I've had if all of that money had suddenly arrived in my bank account. In fact, it probably would have brought out some of the worst of my low esteem traits, because I wouldn't have to try. I wouldn't have to make an effort. So I really do, I really get that everything happens for a reason. And, even me screwing up my times, it all happens for a reason. Nothing is by accident. But again, it goes back to sit down and ask yourself why. And I know there's a couple of people listening just go, oh, I don't, rolling eyes, I don't journal. You actually need to write it down. I don't care if you do it on a computer. You cannot work these things out in your head. There's something about the first prize is pen and paper, because there is something about that ink flowing across that piece of paper that triggers deep unconscious thoughts that will bubble up out of nowhere. But if that is not your thing, then do it on your notepad or make notes on your phone. But ask yourself the questions, because it's not you that will answer. It is your higher self that will answer. Yeah. And you'll be surprised at what comes out. But you have to give yourself the time. And there is time. If you choose. You never have time. We don't own time. You make time for what's important. And every single one of us, we can make time to scroll for half an hour on social media, but go 10 minutes to journal. Oh, no, I don't have the time. It's because you don't want to face it. That's actually what's going on.
I think let's clarify that with a sprinkle of compassion and just a clearer understanding of what's happening up, like in the mind. So let's just go into a little bit of the science of the mind for a moment. So if you think about your mind and you imagine it, you imagine an apartment, right? And in the apartment, there's a kid's room on the one side, right? And the adult's room on the other side, and the living area in the middle. The kids' room is an absolute mess. It is completely trashy. There's chaos in there. You're going to step in there, everything's going to spill out. You're going to get lost. The adults' room is neat and tidy and organized. When you open both of those doors, you come into the communal living area. The kids' room is the ego, the absolutely chaotic mind, right? And the adult's room, that is the present, the conscious, right? The conscious adult room where we are. The subconscious sits in the middle. And both ego, and we're going to call it soul. And the reason why we call it soul is because it's present. So when you are in your present moment and you are your most authentic self, then you are tapping into the blueprint of who you are, which is your soul contract. So that's why it's soul. Okay, to keep it simple. Both come into the subconscious, right? And now imagine them sitting in the living room, connected. When you do things like journaling, what's happening is you're bringing yourself into the present moment. Now you're both, this ego and the soul are sitting in the subconscious space, and you have the opportunity to see it all.
Okay.
So you have the opportunity in the subconscious to hear what the ego has to say, hear what the soul has to say, and dip into the subconscious. That's why all of my work is journal work. When you do the self-awareness journey with me, all 38 facets of this beautiful personality that you have, we go through each one, and then there's journal work. I'd love to find a client who would be open to actually sharing what it's like to do the journal work in this process. And sometimes they call me and they say to me, Jo, I haven't managed to get to it. And then there's always two options. The one is take a little more time, and but don't leave it too long, because at some point, which is what you're saying, Di, at some point the ego is just hoodwinking you and going, oh, it's not the right time. Actually, the ego there is such trickery in the ego. It is coming from a space of love, and it is coming from a space of wanting to protect all those wounds that you were talking about, all those past wounds that you were talking about. But the ego does like to stay in the loop of the past wounds. And that is the push. The push is eventually to push yourself out of that and anchor yourself into. The wound will always be there. But for you to create the wound in such a way that it becomes a weapon against you is actually what you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Someone else created that wound, right? Someone else did whatever action it was to create the wound. I mean, I deal with it a lot. The people have even passed away. They're not even alive anymore. And that wound perpetuates. And at some point, that's why it's such an important process to do. For example, we've got the flow process where we work through the forgiveness and then we anchor into self-love. You can't give yourself a new opportunity to do that if you haven't done whatever the forgiveness work is. And you never have to. I mean, I work with people who really have just had such terrible things happen to them in their lives, honestly. But to get to a point of saying that person did not have the capacity to be any wiser, smarter, kinder. They just didn't. That was their level of consciousness. And then to say, but if I always anchor back into that wound, then I'm matching their consciousness, and you are way more worthy than that. And that's a lot of the work. You and I are so open in this space. For me to say that sometimes I look at some of the work that is out there and what people are doing, and I'm like, that's very fluffy. It's all good and well. It's very fluffy. It's the same as if someone talks to me about religion or belief, what they believe, my statement is firm. Believe whatever you want to believe. But that belief system if you have that belief system and it is true to you and you are true to it, you should be functioning from a space of calm.
Yeah. And there are, I have some friends who are deeply religious and are beautiful souls and have beautiful lives. They are compassionate, they are non-judgmental, and it just shines out of them. And I think, and it's why our work, Joe, just dovetails so beautifully, because you unpack that for people, and then I go into the body and help the body to release it, because it's the body that's holding all of these triggers and memories. So, and you can release them once they're in your awareness. Then you can release them so that you can get to that beautiful space of faith and flow and living an unstuck life, whatever that life is for you. And I think that's the other thing, is don't compare your life and the way you show up to anyone else. That can also really just keep you stuck.
Completely. And don't let anybody else tell you that your version of life is incorrect, doesn't make sense, whatever it is, we get trapped into the collective, and the collective is a real thing. It's energetically a real thing, and it does exist, and we become unconscious to a collective thinking. And so much of our work is to stay authentic and true to ourselves, that we don't have to leave the collective. We can be in it, but we don't have to be of it and take all of that on. To find the authenticity and the uniqueness of who you are. I've been saying it to you, Di. Like, I'm a quirky coach. I'm a quirky coach. Like, if you want, like, I can't pack the one aside, which I think I was trying to do for so long. And that's why I've lightened up with my content, because I'm like, if I show the world that I'm like that, are they going to take me seriously? But when you start a coaching session with me, I am quirky and wise mixed into one. But if I had to look at how I should be behaving, or what I should be portraying, or what the world expects me to see, that
should be your new handle, the quirky coach.
The quirky coach.
Yeah. And on that note,
yes, on that note, if you need the quirky coach, or if you need the
I work with a soul. It's a level of soul healing that is sometimes it's hard to define, because I'm really the channel. I just trust. That's where I have absolute trust that what comes through is what is needed for the person. It is a higher power, a higher frequency. I often don't understand. I just know the results from the person who's receiving it. Yeah.
I'm so glad you shared that, because the sessions I've had with you, I've been so grateful for. So grateful for. Good. All right. So then we'll see everyone next time.
Okay. Hope you enjoyed that. Let us know. Don't forget to follow us, and we'll see you next episode.
Bye.
Bye.